Hey there, Live Like Your Nail Color gals. Hearing someone tell you you've got this is easy. Believing it and keeping at it is hard. Like when you're tired of not knowing whether or not you're ever going to feel better. Today's gal pal, Dominique Frataccia, aka Mamma Frat, gets it. She's a 30-year plus veteran of multiple autoimmune diseases who defied the odds by putting 2 autoimmune diseases into remission and continues to manage the symptoms of others so that she didn't live the rest of her life in a wheelchair. Her story is inspiring, insightful, and proves that persistence pays off. I can't wait for you to meet her. But first, before we dive into our conversation, have you taken my quiz to determine your nail color persona? I always ask my guests to share their results because it's a fun way to get to know them. All you have to do is go to livelikeyournailcolor.com/quiz. Answer a few quick questions, and in your results, discover your nail color persona, your built-in strengths, and how to tap into those strengths when chip happens. Again, go to livelikeyournailcolor.com/quiz. Now let's get talking with Dominique.
Tired of so much chip happening? Discouraged by so much downer news? Weary from chronic crisis? Don't let the chips keep you down. Welcome to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast, where the tips of your fingers and toes are ready to inspire you to not give up and to keep creating the business, career, and life you want. In each episode, we flip the chip and let our fun nail color with that crazy fun name cheer us on to remember our strengths, embrace the power of choice, see life as an adventure, and know resilience is only a touch-up or change-up away. Get ready for a good time and a good laugh with your host, Mary Foley.
Welcome back, Live Like Your Nail Color gals. Right now, you might be going through a tough time. Maybe it's your health, your job, your relationships, your finances, your fill in the blank. My hope is that today's episode will deeply encourage you not to give up. Keep chipping away at finding an answer through to a better situation. It's possible, even if there are moments that don't feel that way. The key is persistence. Today's gal pal knows that persistence pays off. These days, Dominique Frataccia, also known as Mamma Frat, is a thriving nutritional practitioner and health coach who specializes in autoimmune diseases, gut health, and type 2 diabetes. What makes her coaching so powerful is that she knows to her core that healing is possible, but not always easy. You'll understand why when she shares her own story of not giving up to recover her own health. Dominique, welcome to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's great to be here. Of course, we've known each other. We got full disclosure, number of years now, right? I don't even know what the number is, right? But long enough to we can say, oh yeah, we can pick up the phone or get on a Zoom call and immediately just talk like yesterday we were together, right? I mean,
exactly.
So I've been looking forward to talking with you so that others can learn from your story that I've been inspired by and just really get some ideas about persistence. That's the thing that when I think about you, I think about you have dogged persistence, even if I know you haven't always felt that way. That's something we can all be inspired by and look into. But, before we dive into that, I always ask my guests to take my What's Your Nail Color Persona quiz and we find out what's your nail color persona and if it nailed you. So what is it?
Yes. This was so much fun. So I love to take, full disclosure, I love to take these tests, whether it's what my love style is or my nail polish color. It's just so valuable. And yes, it absolutely nailed me. It was fun. Everybody needs to do this. So Mary, I am a Naked Nelly, but I've decided, there's a big but here. It's mine. No, I've decided I am a Naked Nelly that meets practical princess, but the solid sister in me is always ready to go on an adventure. With the redheaded. Yes, girl, I'm ready.
You are ready. Okay. So here's the thing. There's a gal listening right now. She's like, what are you saying?
What?
Solid
Yeah.
sister, all the practical princess. So there's 5 nail color personas, right? You won't know for sure which one is yours until you take the quiz at livelikeyournailcolor.com/quiz. But so you came up as Naked Nelly, right? But then you're like, but when I'm not, I'm a practical princess. I'm not even going to tell you what that means exactly. Got to take it. But there's practical princess, there's a glitter gal, there's solid sister, and the amazing adventurer. So you're basically saying you could be all of them at one point or another, is what you're saying, huh?
Yeah. And you know what? Life always gives you an opportunity to reinvent yourself continuously over and over. And so at different times of your life, you are needing different things to fuel your passions and to fuel to get up and go again. And so, yeah, I think for the multiple sides of us, yes, some predominance, but we're all a little bit of everything. Yeah.
A little bit of everything. I think that's very, very true. I love the fact that you open yourself up to the opportunity to reinvent yourself or to lean into a part of yourself that, well, maybe wasn't at the forefront before because it didn't need to be. I do think, though, we all have a core persona. So the fact that you go back to Naked Nelly, all right, says something a lot about you. And in fact, the definition and the description of Naked Nelly, how did that nail you? Do you remember?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So the Naked Nelly, what I loved about it is I spent years in corporate America, and I spent years working in a predominantly male environment. And you tend to, or I did, I tend to think of every piece of clothing I wore, nail polish to rings, how does this fit in with the guys that I have to work with? Are they going to see me as too feminine, or does this, I would even buy furniture for the den in my house, knowing that I would be having the bigwigs come over, and would they be comfortable in this chair? So the fact that I decided a while back to, I want to be me. I want to stop hiding under a rock. I want to be my authentic. And that's, Naked Nelly is you're not afraid to be who you are. And I changed my life. You'll hear, well, the story, but I changed my life completely and decided this is who I am. I'm embracing it, and let's go forward. And I stopped dyeing my hair, and I started embracing who I am. And at my core, I'm a Naked Nelly, but I do, when I'm going to go to a function, a special function, I am more practical with my nail polish approach. I do go get my nails done. In fact, you inspired me to go get them done. And I will do the French manicure because it goes with everything and they look clean and neat. And so I just feel like down to the cream color that I occasionally wear, and some of us wear maybe one color on our toes and one color on our fingers, and other people need to match both. And so it nails you. Like I said, I always love taking these tests, but this one was especially fun.
Well, it's a fun way to look at, to think about who you already are, right? Even when you have that awareness. And I love it that it's simple and it's fun, and it's literally a reminder on the tips of your fingers and toes. I mean, you don't have to say, what was that assessment? What animal am I? What color am I? What letters am I? You're like, oh, let me look at my fingernails. Let me look at my toenails.
And it's a trigger too, right? So some people get, and I was one of those, I got a tattoo at one point to encourage me to remember, this thing, right? To be positive for me. Right. So when you inspired me to go get my nails done, I was like, I really want to be more of the solid sister. I really want to be that person. And how do you remind yourself to become the person you want to be, so that you're not living by default? You need these triggers. You need the anchor. You need the something that propels you. And so it was a trigger. So I polished my nails.
Hey,
they look great.
And then they look like they're a nude color. I mean,
They
I'm
are.
you
They
on
are.
Zoom. We're on Zoom. Everybody listen to this as an audio, but yeah, and that is really kind of a reflection of a Naked Nelly. Like if you're a solid, but you're a solid sister, Naked Nelly, right? So that would be because a solid sister is one who typically likes to have a solid color, not any bling to it, just a solid color. And the color may change, although you may have you're easily got a go-to color, right? So this is your go-to color.
Right. Right. But I like hanging out with the adventuresome folks. I realized that all my friends around me were wearing red, because once you take the test, you start looking at people's nails more, right? And I started noticing that all my friends are in the bright colors, some are glitter, some are, I'm like, wow, this is so cool.
It is fun. It is fun. All right. Oh my gosh. And then if you go to mixed Manny, that's another level. All right. So we're not doing that right now. All right. But I wanted to always get that. All right. So that you're authentic. I love it that you were very aware. You went from a kind of what you would probably consider more inauthentic way you showed up every day to a far more authentic way. And okay. So I have to kind of go in a little bit of the Wayback Machine. I first remember meeting you at a networking event where these other women entrepreneurs, and this one gal, the reason we went is to learn from one gal who had a wine business. Like she's going to share about wine, and we got to sample some of the wine that she had. And that's the first time I really remember like interacting with you. And it was so much fun. But what surprised me is that later I learned the journey that you've been on. And I had no idea in that moment that you had been through all that and you were still in the process of overcoming. And I was kind of like, whoa. And so I'd like to start there with these health challenges that you had that I was clueless in the moment. All right. And really what happened that caused them.
Sure. Okay. Well, so ironically, I thought I was in the happiest time of my life. It had been years since I'd been out of a bad marriage. And when I say bad marriage, I ended up with sole and legal custody of our children. So there were things.
That would tell you, yes.
There were things. So the past was behind me. I had a new life, a better life. I even found new love. I had gotten remarried to a great guy, I might add. We both had jobs. Bills were paid, lights on. He even went to church with me. I mean, life was good, right? But, without warning, like you say, the nail polish starts to chip, right? The chip happens. And what happened was it started with my favorite aunt who was like a mother to me. She passed away suddenly from the negligence of a doctor and doing a routine procedure. And about this time, I was beginning of being an empty nester. My firstborn had decided he wasn't going to go to college, but rather join the military. And so he was headed off to his first deployment in enemy territory.
Oh,
so I cried and I cried and I cried. And, the fear of what could happen, which, by the way, will be a recurring theme later. The fear of what could happen was paralyzing. Not what did happen, but what could happen. Because every time I turned the news on, which is how I used to start my day, Afghanistan was front and center, and as was all the negative news. So then an opportunity for a new job came along. I had an old boss that went to a new company. He's, oh, you got to come here. This is great. You'd be my peer instead of working for me. I saw a large pay increase. My eyeballs were like a little puppy following a bone, Before I knew it, I was signing the new employee onboarding forms. And at the same time, my mother had found herself in a situation needing a place to live. So I did what all good Catholic guilt-ridden children do. I sold my house. We moved into it, bought another one. So, there's inherent stress in caretaking for an elderly parent, selling a home, buying a home, moving, a new job, a deployed son, family member's death.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right. But realize, it happens over the course of 6 months and you don't realize that it's so cram-packed. And by the way, did I mention that while this was happening, I decided to do triathlons because that would be good for stress.
Well, I'm just laughing, going, well, we can't just do a small thing like, let me just start walking around the neighborhood. No, we have
No,
to do
no.
triathlons.
Well, I was already working out in the morning at 5:15, so it made sense. I mean, how do you up the ante, but add triathlon training on the weekends? So before long, though, I was waking up tired, not feeling like I wanted to go work out or even get up. I started drinking more coffee and more coffee and more coffee and drinking and taking Motrin like it was M&Ms. Ignoring all the signs of a body calling for help. Because I kept doing what most people do, right? Well, I had a cold. Oh, it was a hard workout. I kept justifying. I stayed up too late with the girls. We went out. Eventually there wasn't enough caffeine or Motrin to get me through a day. And I'm married to a nurse, and I was doing a triathlon. I was training, doing the same hill that I had done. And I couldn't take a deep breath. I felt like an elephant was on my, and, my husband used to be in trauma and then moved to hearts. And so, as soon as I say, I feel like I got an elephant on my chest, he's, wait, that shouldn't be. And, fast forward, I started going, countless tests, and months later, I found myself on 6 meds with mobility issues. I got to the point where I couldn't even get up the flight of stairs.
Wow.
I couldn't function myself to the bathroom, much less wanting to get up and go to work. I was calling in sick more. And I finally went back to the doctor and I told him, you got to get me off these meds. That, I was like on 5, 6 different meds, not even without the thyroid meds. And I told him, I said, I can't function. I can't live like this. Young lady, what do you want me to do? This is protocol. I said, I want you to get me off these drugs. If you can't handle the drugs, how are you going to handle the wheelchair? Wait, what did you just say?
Whoa.
So, that I felt very defeated and lost, after I felt like life betrayed me. You kind of think to yourself after everything you've been through, that now I was on the other side, and the past was the past. And so I was at fairy tale, and then all of a sudden this happens and I'm like, why me? Are you kidding me? After everything, and the why me mentality and the fear of what could be or what would be according to his prognosis, the fear of the unknown was a big part of my very unproductive thought process back then.
It would be, anyone would be unproductive. Yeah. I mean, but it's understandable. You had fear. And it probably understandable. You felt like life betrayed you because things were going so well. Seemed like you were probably felt like I'm doing all the right things, right? I'm helping out my mother. I'm
yes.
supportive to, my husband, and we have a good relationship. I've got this new job, I'm even helping out that organization. And so this is my payback, right? I mean,
exactly.
Oh my gosh. And so at that point, when the doctor says, what were the exact words? He said, how are you going to handle the wheelchair?
Because at first I was like, what are you talking about? And he says, well, people like you, there's medical device. And I told him, I can't get up the stairs. I just need something to help me get up the stairs. He says, you're not hearing me, kind of thing. And he said, there are chair lifts, that you can put in your house to help you get up the stairs. And you'll eventually have those installed in your house.
It almost like snapped you in a way. Of course, here's the reality of what's happening to you. And by the way, although he didn't say it this is protocol and I don't have anything more to help you with. I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Oh, yeah.
You just have to accept this is protocol. And then the next thing's going to happen is there's going to be this. And then the next thing's going to happen is this. And then you're going to need the chairlift and the wheelchair. And, and you're thinking, what? This was not the train I thought I was on.
Not even close. I wasn't even going to stop at this station.
Yeah. Okay. So in that moment, then when I say that very moment, I mean, but you've gotten this picture that's very different than you had thought. You said you felt like life had betrayed you. Why me? What happened next for you?
Yeah. So at the very beginning, I didn't do a very good job at, if I was completely honest, at any of it. I was pretty much wallowing in the depths of despair. I spent a lot of time. I even hid the prognosis. I told my husband the diagnoses, but I did not tell him the prognosis, because we'd only been married a few years by then, let's say 5 years. So I still felt like a newlywed, and being active and wakeboarding and swimming and working out and dancing. And these were all parts of me, they were, and it was a hobby. It's what we did. I did sprint triathlons. He did Ironmans, okay. So he's a freak of nature and further along than the rest of us.
Part of your relationship. Like, this was a big part of what you did. And to say, I can't do this anymore. I'm sure there was some fear of he's going to leave me, or this is all going to go away.
Yes. Who am I? Right. So at the same time, any mother that has become an empty nester starts thinking, who am I if I'm not a mother 24/7 and first? Then I was, who am I if I'm not doing triathlons or working out every morning? But the truth, sometimes that very hard truth, was actually a blessing. Sometimes you lose a job, you lose a relationship, you lose things, and you think they're the worst thing that ever happened to you, and they turn out to be a gift, because his cockiness, or let's call it asinineness, if that's a word, or his approach with me, while maybe not the best bedside manner, caused me to focus on him and be angry at him and what he said, and led me to, well, I'll show him, and that's when you begin anew in life. I feel like step one to figuring out how to get yourself back up and how to persevere is to accept what is, right? Wishing that it were different, or being stuck in the why me, was very unproductive for me. And it's true. It's not fair. It's true. You're going to love people immensely and they'll leave you. You're going to trust people with your life and they'll betray you. You're going to lose jobs. You're going to lose relationships. Over and over, life is going to give us an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. That's what I like to call it. It's the positive spin. And part of allowing ourselves to accept what is without becoming the victim is to allow ourselves to feel those feelings, and then have a mourning process, bury the pain. And I don't mean bury, I don't mean stay in denial. I mean, bury the hope of what you wanted it to look like, right? So I wanted to make my husband very proud. I wanted to do sprint triathlons and then do more marathons and then, maybe do an Ironman, because I knew that would, jazz him up. But that's living for somebody else. That's not truly authentic to myself, right? Some people are still fighting their past, and this is why they can't move into their future. It might be worth saying that again. We have to make sure that we're not doing that. You can't fight for your future if you're still living in your past. We drive forward looking through the windshield, not the rearview mirror.
That is a good one, and that's hard to do. And I was thinking about, when you were sharing all this, about the grief cycle. Stages of grief is another way of it's been characterized, and there's been lots of studies and research around what we go through during grief. And a lot of times when we think of grief, we think of someone has passed away. That's one of the biggest ones. But really, grief is any kind of loss. So you had a loss of health, even though you didn't have a complete loss of life. You had a loss, and you had a fear of maybe a loss of relationship or loss. You could keep going. There's this loss of the life you knew up until that point in time. And the stages are shock, denial, like shock. Oh my gosh, this happened. This happened. Oh, it's not that bad. I mean, it's really like, just tell me what's the path to get off these meds, right? Then
Right.
it goes to anger. You were angry you put your anger towards the doctor at this point, right? But then it could be angry at life. You said, life betrayed me. Right? Then the next stage is depression. And you said you were wallowing in the depths of despair. And
Yeah, I literally wanted to die.
oh my God. And I will tell you that I've actually been there for a moment too, when with my ex-husband, which is another story for another day, but I never ever thought I'd feel that much despair. So you were in that. And as horrible as that feels, the research shows that we can't avoid going through the wallowing or through that depression or through that sense of despair. The difference is, do we keep moving through it or do we stay stuck in it? Because the next overall stage, and I say that these are overall go from one stage to another, but the research also says we ping around a lot. All right. But you kind of overall in the macro move from depression to acceptance. If you keep at it and have moments of, okay, maybe it'll be a bit better. Maybe someone encourages you. Maybe there's some, and you actually get tired of the wallowing, right? You start to go through to acceptance. And the acceptance is just really key. It's not accepting that I'm going to be, like in your case, on these drugs and in a wheelchair and my entire life, but it's accepting what is for right now and not being in denial of it anymore. And once you accept this is the reality right now, then you have the opportunity, it's not guaranteed, to move to renewal, to their new state of being. And that's where I think about living like your nail color. I know it sounds kind of funny. It might be a stretch, but a big part of living like your nail color is believing in the power of choice and making proactive choices. I think we're most able to make those conscious choices when we're so tired of being sick and tired, or we're so tired of the situation we're in, and we know we're depressed, but we also know that life's been different, and we want it to be in that better state again. So it's somewhat a level of awareness of that. And I was just wondering, for you, what were some of the most important choices that you made on this road to recovery? If we left off and said, I'm wallowing in the depths of despair, wondering who am I? And, and you're thinking, well, I might show him too. What were some of the big decisions you made that moved you from this despair into new hope?
Wow, what a great question. So obviously there were many, many things, right? But I think one of the big ones was I to your point, you have to accept what is, right? I decided I can't look in the rearview mirror and go forward. I got to look through the windshield. And accepting was a big one. I think the second one would be I really needed to identify. I had so much pressure, between caretaking and just having moved, and we had to remodel the house so it would accommodate my mother. And, then our shower started leaking. We had to remodel it. I mean, so my house is in the middle of the construction dust while all this is happening, and I can't get myself to the bathroom to go pee by myself. It was a really hard time. And so the next big step that I took was to identify what my ideal life would be like. I think it sounds a little foo-foo maybe, but okay, so it's not ideal now, not even close, not what I signed up for, not what I hoped it would be. But if I had a magic wand, given where I am now, what if I could be witched and just twitch my nose? I can't get rid of the sickness maybe, but what can I do? Right. So what would it look like if you truly dive into the depths of your visualization, what you want the life to be in living color. You know, what would I be wearing? What would I be doing? Would I have a different hobby? Are there other hobbies I wanted to try that I'm not doing because I don't have the time, because I'm doing stupid triathlons? You know, within this, we have to decide who we want to be. You know, who do I want to be in this? Do I want to be the victim? Do I want to put that chair thing? It was, by the way, I did look into it. It was like 10 grand at the time. Do I want to put that in my house? You know, and by the way, did I mention that because of everything that was going on, I also got fired?
Oh my gosh.
So my identity, yeah.
Right?
I mean, on paper, it looks like I quit, but my identity, my self-worth was wrapped up in my income and my job and my title. And, you know, it was just, life was just, so I had to, the neat thing is when you fall down and you're on the floor, you know that expression, there's nowhere to go but up.
But up, right. That's what I was thinking. Right.
So, you know, you have to identify what you want. You have the magic wand. And, you know, within this, you know, who do we want to be? And we have to be willing to do the work to change, right? If you want a different life, you have to create a different you. So that was the first step. And then immersing myself into the feeding of the new me, right? The possibility thinking, instead of, oh, I hate my life and I'm constantly in pain. You have to watch what you say, because my husband used to wake up in the morning, how are you feeling? And the first things out of my mouth was like, poop.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to go up from there, right? And if you're constantly in pain, it's hard to not say what comes to your mind. You know, your body is deteriorating. You can't even take yourself to the bathroom. You surely don't feel like saying, oh, I feel great, honey. I had such great sleep. I slept all through the night. I feel wonderful. I could take on the world. You know, that's the last damn thing you feel like saying. But there's so much power in our own words. So we cannot pollute our potential by letting the negativity of life or even reality take hold. We have to constantly push away the default setting, because by default, we would lay down on the ground and stay there. We do not feel like getting back up. When our life is broken in a million pieces, we rarely feel like we got the energy to get up and fight, much less get up. It's just, you have to constantly push away that setting. And I think another one would be serving others. I had to get out of my head. I had to go do something, even though it took a monumental effort and I couldn't get down the stairs. And I knew it would take me 3 hours to get up and moving in the morning, because the contractions were so great that I was stuck at the top of the stairs, you know, doing this number, you know, from head to toe. And then when I exerted a muscle, it would contract. And it just, I knew that it would take that long, but you have to, when you're serving others, you're out of your head. You're taking this challenge and converting it and giving back. And that's a huge, huge piece. This is probably why I started, you know, Mamma Frat in general, because I went back to school. I was learning everything that I possibly could, got multiple certifications, read countless studies. I mean, morning to night, I figured if I can't move, I might as well take advantage of it. You know, again, extrapolate the good. What good? There's always something good, even in the worst of situations. And at first I was mad. Well, I can't move. I can't even get out of this damn chair. You know, okay, so what's the good in that? I can read. My brain's still working. I can read. I can look things up on the computer. I can study. And so I did.
Is there a particularly satisfying moment of persistence that you remember that you went, yeah, like in all those years, you had to have moments where, you know, that you go, wow, I've really, this persistence has paid off. I've had this breakthrough maybe, or or someone's understood this. I mean, and I'm compared to where I imagined my life to be, I'm seeing those things happen. Are there any moments like that you remember?
You and I did a 5K. Do you remember doing that?
Oh yeah, I was going to bring that up as well, because when we did that, and I remember you really wanted to, train for this 5K, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm really not a big runner, and I was like, ugh. And we were with a small group, but you were asking us, like, anybody want to do this? And I had this nudge, like, you really need to do this with her, Mary. You just really need to do it. So I didn't tell you right then, but I thought about it and I was like, oh, okay, I'll do it. So we were the only two in the entire group, right? But I made a commitment, but I had no idea until we started doing that that was a huge deal for you, because you had not been running at all. And
Right.
you had back pain because, that's what prevented you.
Yeah. So that's a perfect example of, in the moment, you don't always feel that you're being persistent. It's especially not as much as you want to be. And lots of times my brain was more willing than my body.
Well, that'd be often for most of us. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So much like in that 5K that we did, I just kept telling myself, you have to put one foot in front of the other. That's all you need to do. So imagine you want to lose 300 pounds. If you keep looking, you can identify what you want your life to look like when you've lost that 300 pounds, how you want people to interact with you, what you might be wearing, how you might go shopping. But at the end of the day, then you got to put the work in to actually lose the 300 pounds. And sometimes when you start a workout, what you thought you were going to be able to accomplish and what you actually can accomplish are two different things. And you have to start somewhere. When I started back up, the first time I got on a bike, when I decided I had to get back up, I said, oh, well, I got to keep moving, even though I don't feel like it, even though, my muscles are contracting, I'm in constant pain, but you got to do it because it's healthy, and you're not going to defy the odds by staying in this daggum bed. So get your booty out of the bed and get on the bike. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to have my cup of coffee. The workout room was right beside the kitchen. And so I would go to get a cup of coffee. And I would tell myself, you can't have your cup of coffee. And nobody stands between me and my coffee. You can't have your cup of coffee until you get on the bike, and you're going to bike for 30 minutes. Okay. So knowing that I could bike for a couple hours at a time, I was like, 30 minutes will be no big deal. I got on the bike the first time after a long time, and I couldn't do seconds on the bike. So the reality of what I wanted to do, and then seeing that big, hairy goal, how am I going to get back to being able to do a 5K or a triathlon or anything if I can't even do 20 seconds on a bike? So I had to back up, and just every day, instead of giving up, you just back up and you just keep putting one foot in front. Don't look at the whole 300 pounds that you want to lose. Just say, I'm going to do one right thing today. I'm going to take one more step forward towards the goal each day. Sometimes when we look at the outcome and we put so much emotional charge into wanting the outcome, it gets too overwhelming. So it's important to just fuel the first few steps, just take one step at a time. That's how you win. That's persistence. I tell people all the time, don't fight your biology, but work with it. Part of not being the victim and it is taking action towards being the winner.
One foot in front of the other is simple, and it's so powerful. And it sounds easy, but it certainly isn't. And one of the things I'm hearing you say is, instead of focusing on what you can't do, focus on the small, simple thing you can do and just do it. And then keep doing that, and then say, what else small thing I can do, or manageable, sizable, and do that. And when you don't feel like doing it, like you getting on the bike in 30 minutes, or I'm sure you built up to that, right? But you got on the bike, you put your seat on the seat, you pushed around the pedals, you only did 20 seconds at first, and you couldn't believe how exhausted, I'm sure, and probably was depressed, but you went, but I can have coffee now. So I got off the bike. So there's something about that, you did it anyway. And then the next day you said, well, I know I can do 20 seconds. Let me go for 30. And it seems so inconsequential when we're in it. But I think that's actually the brilliance of it, is that it's exactly the opposite. What seems subtle is actually significant. And if we just do it often enough, it is a momentum and it does build.
If I remember when I was in physical therapy and they would give me these little tiny moves to make. And I thought, dude, you don't know who I am. I used to own an aerobic studio. I used to do triathlons. I used to, I'm thinking this is the lamest place to start. But eventually you realize you have to start at the lamest place and just consistently take one step, putting it in front of the other.
I think it's easy to think, well, I'm going to be persistent. If I'm going to have perseverance, I got to do it alone. No. We have to put ourselves on the path, but we can get a buddy or two.
Yes. And hang out with people that pour into you, right? We all know those people that when we leave them, we feel drained and, less healthy. Those are not the people to hang out with at this time, right? Those are the people that you love from afar and you put your safe boundaries around.
Before we wrap up today, I want to talk about nail color again. And if you could create a name of a nail color to inspire us to be persistent and not give up, what would it be?
So if you had asked me that question 10 years ago, the name of my nail polish would have been Rise, or Phoenix, something, because I needed, the first step to me was just to be able to get back up, right? Now, all this time down the road, I've helped lots of people do what I've done. I'm playing pickleball 3-4 times a week, riding my bike the other days. It's a different world. Now I think my nail polish color might be called What's Next, or What's Possible.
And when you're in the moment of persevering, just looking at what's next, what do I need to do next? What do I need to do next? It feels very much like one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. So I thank you so much for sharing your story today and the inspiration that comes out of that. For those who want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Calling me, texting me, is the first best way. And Mary can give you my phone number. The second best way would be to go to my website and, there's an opportunity to schedule a free call with me, mammafrat.com, Mama, M-A-M-A, and frat like fraternity. Yes, I do live in the frat house. It's mammafrat.com. And there's opportunities there to download some free resources, how to be gluten-free, how to handle your sugar issues. There's a book, an ebook on the fundamentals of autoimmune. So there's a resource page. That's a great way. I'm on YouTube, mammafrataccia.com. We're Mamma Frataccia right now. There's, I accept all ways of reaching out. I think we're all here to serve, to help each other. And, any way that I can do that, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm very respectful of what it takes to reach out to somebody and ask them to be your buddy and to help you along. So
Well, I appreciate that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the links to those in the show notes. So anyone listening right now, just scroll down through the show notes at the bottom, and there will be links to all the areas and all the contact points that Dominique brought up. Thank you again for your time. It's been great to connect.
It's been an honor.
It's been great. We're going to keep persevering. I will be talking to you soon. All right.
Thanks, Mary.
And now for the after party, I call Flip the Chip, where I take a few moments to highlight something my gal pal shared that can help us all flip a challenge or a difficulty that's holding us back into something more positive that helps us move forward. That was quite a conversation with Dominique. I'm hoping there was at least a part or a piece that gave you an insight or a bit of encouragement right now to not give up. What I want to highlight today is Dominique's 5 overall steps she used to go from a doctor's wheelchair diagnosis to her own health destiny. Step 1, identify what you want and who you want to be going forward. She said, if you want a different life, you have to create a different you. Imagine you have a magic wand. Given where you are right now, what do you want your life to look like, and who do you want to be going forward? What would have to change? Step 2, immerse yourself in that future vision. In particular, she said, watch your words. Phrases like, I can't, or I feel awful. Because saying them again and again has the power to pollute your potential. Step 3, serve others. When you're serving others in some way, you are momentarily not focused on your own situation, but rather on another person or a group. You are taking your challenge and converting it to a positive by giving back. There's real healing in that. And step 4, put one foot in front of the other. That really means doing one right thing today, and again tomorrow, and the next day. Instead of focusing on what you can't do, focus on the small, simple thing you can do, and then just do it. Then ask, what's another small thing you can do? And do that. Before you know it, you are farther along the road to a better place. Best of all, you're not stuck. And step 5, tap into positive relationships. Whether it's a buddy to help hold you accountable, or a professional practitioner with talent you need, or having a few good friends on a text thread, use the positive power of other people and relationships to cheer you on. And of course, you can use your nail color to cheer you on too, by simply putting on a new nail color and giving it the name What's Possible or What's Next, as Dominique suggested. So that every time you see your fingers or toes, you're reminded that persistence pays off. Keep at it. You can make good choices to create the career, business, and life you want, one step, one nail color at a time. Look forward to being with you next time on the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Live Like Your Nail Color podcast. Ready to live and laugh more? Know a friend who could use some of that too? Then subscribe at liveLikeYourNailColor.com or your favorite podcast app, and share this episode right now with the person who popped into your mind. Together, let's flip the chip to be stronger, smarter, and happier.